Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing amazing today. In this video, we're diving into the latest updates about Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. You don't want to miss this. So make sure to stay tuned till the end, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The studio lights were brighter than usual that morning, or at least that's how it felt to Kelly Ripa. As the familiar theme music faded and the applause rose, she smiled instinctively, the way she had done for decades. To millions watching at home, everything looked normal. But beneath the polished smile and perfectly styled hair, Kelly was carrying a weight so heavy it threatened to break her in two. Mark Consuelos sat beside her, calm and composed, his hand resting gently on the desk. To anyone else, it looked like another ordinary broadcast of live. But to Kelly, it felt like standing at the edge of an emotional cliff. She took a breath, and then another. Her voice cracked before she even realized she was about to speak. "There's something personal we want to share today," Kelly began, her trademark confidence faltering. The audience grew quiet, sensing immediately that this was not scripted banter or lighthearted chatter. This was real. Kelly turned toward Mark, her eyes already glistening. In that moment, the years flashed before her, meeting him for the first time, falling in love on all my children, eloping in secret, building a family, weathering fame, criticism, and countless challenges together. Through it all, Mark had been her constant, her anchor. And now, he was facing something neither of them had ever been prepared for. Mark's diagnosis. Kelly tried to continue, but the words caught in her throat. Tears welled up, spilling over despite her efforts to stay composed. She covered her face briefly, shaking her head as if embarrassed by her own vulnerability. But this wasn't weakness. This was love, raw, unfiltered, and deeply human. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I didn't think it would be this hard to say out loud." Mark reached for her hand, squeezing it reassuringly. His touch grounded her, but it didn't stop the tears. If anything, it made them fall faster. The diagnosis had come quietly, without warning. No dramatic collapse. No obvious symptoms that screamed danger. Just a routine checkup, followed by a phone call that changed everything. Kelly remembered that moment with painful clarity. She had been at home, scrolling through emails, half listening to the hum of daily life. When Mark walked into the room, his face told her something was wrong before he ever spoke. He sat down slowly, took her hands in his, and said the words that would echo in her mind for weeks. "We need to talk." At first, she had stayed calm. That was her instinct, to be the strong one, the fixer, the optimist. But as Mark explained the diagnosis, the medical terms blending into something terrifyingly real, her strength began to crack. She wasn't afraid of the cameras. She wasn't afraid of public scrutiny. She was afraid of losing the man who had been her partner in everything. Back in the studio, Kelly wiped her tears and looked out at the audience. "Mark has always been the strong one," she said softly. "He's the guy who keeps us laughing, who makes everything feel manageable. Seeing him face something like this, it changes you." The audience sat in stunned silence. Many wiped their own eyes, feeling the weight of her words. This wasn't just a celebrity sharing a story, it was a wife confronting her greatest fear in real time. Mark finally spoke, his voice steady but emotional. "I didn't want this to define us," he said. "And I didn't want Kelly to feel like she had to be strong all the time." Kelly let out a quiet, broken laugh through her tears. "Too late," she said. "That's kind of my thing." The moment drew a soft ripple of laughter, easing the tension just enough to breathe. But the emotion remained heavy and real. Kelly admitted that the hardest part hadn't been the diagnosis itself, it had been the waiting, the uncertainty, the nights spent lying awake, listening to Mark's breathing, wondering about futures she had never questioned before. "I've built my whole life around this man," she said. "Not just my marriage, but my sense of home. And when you're faced with the possibility of that changing, even temporarily, it shakes you to your core." She spoke about their children, about the conversations they had tried to keep calm and reassuring, even when they themselves were scared. About the way Mark tried to downplay his own fear to protect everyone else. "That's who he is," Kelly said. "He puts everyone before himself." As she spoke, the tears returned, this time unstoppable. She bent forward slightly, overwhelmed, her shoulders shaking as she cried openly on live television. Mark wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. In that moment, the studio lights, the cameras, The years of professional polish all faded away. What remained was a woman in love, terrified and hopeful all at once. Kelly later said that breaking down on air wasn't something she planned, but she also didn't regret it. So many people are going through something similar, she said, and they feel like they have to hide it or be strong every second. I want them to know, it's okay to fall apart. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Messages poured in from viewers who had faced diagnoses of their own or supported loved ones through illness. They thanked Kelly for her honesty, for showing that even those who seem unbreakable have moments of fear and grief. For Kelly, the experience changed her. She became more present, more intentional. Every laugh with Mark felt deeper. Every ordinary moment felt extraordinary. Coffee in the morning, quiet walks, shared glances that said everything without words. Life stops being about what's next, she said later. It becomes about what's now. Mark's diagnosis did not define their story, but it reshaped it. It reminded them that love isn't just about shared success or happy moments. It's about standing together when the future feels uncertain. Kelly still smiles on camera. She still jokes. She still brings warmth and humor into millions of homes every day. But now behind that smile, there is something deeper, a fierce gratitude, a vulnerability she no longer tries to hide, and a love strengthened by fear, honesty, and hope. And when Kelly Ripa broke down in tears over Mark's diagnosis, the world didn't see weakness. They saw courage. They saw love. They saw a woman brave enough to let her heart be seen, exactly as it is. Kelly didn't realize how much that moment would linger long after the cameras stopped rolling. When the show ended and the applause faded, she remained seated for a beat longer than usual, her hands still wrapped around Mark's. The studio emptied slowly, producers giving them space, the way people instinctively do when they sense something sacred has just occurred. For once, Kelly didn't rush to the dressing room or crack a joke to lighten the mood. She simply breathed. "I didn't mean to cry like that," she finally said, her voice quieter now. Mark smiled gently. "You didn't mean not to," he replied. That night, back at home, the house felt different, softer, almost fragile. The familiar walls that had held birthday parties, family dinners, and late-night laughter now seemed to echo with unspoken fears. Kelly moved through the rooms carefully, as if sudden movement might disturb something delicate. They sat together in the kitchen, the same place where they'd shared thousands of ordinary moments. But this wasn't ordinary. This was life narrowing down to what truly mattered. Kelly admitted something she hadn't said out loud before. "I think I've been pretending this was just another challenge, something we'd power through like everything else." Mark nodded. And now I realize I was scared to admit how much I need you." That confession broke something open between them. Tears came again, quieter this time, not for the world to see, but just for each other. Mark rested his forehead against hers, and they stayed like that, suspended in a moment that felt both terrifying and profoundly intimate. In the days that followed, Kelly noticed how the world responded to her vulnerability. Strangers stopped her on the street, their voices soft, their eyes kind. Notes arrived from viewers who shared stories of late-night hospital rooms, whispered prayers, and the strength found in holding someone's hand through the unknown. One message stayed with her most: "Thank you for letting us see love without armor." Kelly carried those words with her. At work, she laughed just as loudly, but she no longer rushed past emotional moments. She let silences exist. She listened more. When Mark teased her for being extra sentimental, she smiled and didn't apologize. At home, time slowed. They cooked together more often, even when they were exhausted. They revisited old photos, laughing at hairstyles they once thought were a good idea. Kelly found herself studying Mark's face when he wasn't looking, memorizing expressions she had taken for granted. "I don't want to miss anything," she said one evening. "You're not," he reassured her. "You're here." And that was the lesson that stayed with her most. Not every day was brave. Some mornings, Kelly woke up with fear sitting heavy on her chest. Some nights, she cried quietly so Mark wouldn't hear. But she learned that strength didn't mean never breaking. It meant choosing to show up anyway. When Kelly Ripa broke down in tears over Mark's diagnosis, it marked more than a moment on television. It marked a turning point in how she loved, how she lived, and how honestly she allowed herself to be seen. She didn't know what the future would hold.